Okay, so this is my kayak and this is the river. You can see I've laid out a little map of the river, and what we're going to discuss is bluff corners and how to deal with them, which is something that you've said you wanted to go into. So we're going to spend the afternoon working on that. First, I want to give you the theory, and then we're going to go to a bluff corner and work on the actual doing of it. So we've got this map of the river here. Water's flowing this way, goes around a left-hand bend, which we'll deal with first, and then we'll look at a right-hand bend going the other way. So what features are we trying to identify as we're coming into this corner here? What are we looking out for? And there's a clue here. Yeah, where is the boily eddy? So that's what we're trying to spot on approach to this corner. We're also looking at the shape of the bend, particularly the shape of what will be a rock face on this side and a gravel bar that sticks out here, because the shape of the corner will change the dynamics of the water. In this case, we've got a fairly flat, straight rock face, and a 90-degree bend to the left. What's the ideal line through here? Where do we really want to be through the tightest part of the corner? Take a guess.
Just to the side of the boil and eddy line.
So you're thinking more in the flow or more in the boily stuff?
To the right.
Right here? Yeah, exactly. So we want to be on the outside of the eddy, in the downstream flow, fairly close to the rock wall probably. Okay, so we're trying to find this gap here where the water's flowing around the bend in the direction we want to go. Good. This puts us close to a rock face, which a lot of folk are not necessarily that comfortable with, but it is the best option in this scenario. One that you might consider is going through the eddy here. What's some of the problems with going through the eddy here? You can get spun out really easily. So as we leave the flow, which is going downstream, and enter the eddy, which direction is the water moving here? Yeah, kind of all over the shop, but a lot of the force is actually coming back upstream or pushing us towards the inside bank. So if the boat's coming in like that, if we put the nose in this eddy and leave the tail in the flow, which direction is the boat going to twist? That's right, it's going to twist anti-clockwise to the left in this case. Okay, and that's called getting spun out. And we do see a number of people also falling upside down here as they're getting spun out, because the pressure changes on the boat dramatically. You leave the flow that was going with you, and now the water changes direction under the hull and we can lose balance in a hurry. Okay, so the ideal line is to be coming through this space. Knowing that, way back upstream on approach, where are you going to position the boat as you approach this corner? Let's say you have the luxury of already knowing where you want to go. Imagine the river is split into like 5 lanes, as if you're on a highway, probably not in New Zealand. But if you had a 5-lane highway, so this is lane 1, 2, lane 3 is right in the middle of the river, lane 4 and lane 5 is on the outside here. What lane are we going to approach this corner on? I'm hearing a range. I'm glad we're having this discussion, because I don't know if I heard the answer I would give, which would be lane 2. Okay. So lane 2 gives us easy access to this spot without a big run up. Okay. And we also have enough space that we can pre-turn the kayak slightly without doing what mistake? What do we need to be careful of as we pre-turn the boat? No. Yeah, if we put the nose of the boat into the boily eddy here, we're going to spin out. So we need to be able to have enough space away from the boily eddy that we can pre-turn the kayak without putting the nose in the eddy. Does that make sense? So why not have more space then? Some of you said lane 5, I think I heard. This is plenty of space to pre-turn the boat, but what's the potential issue with being very wide here? Yes, the whole river is now coming to the left-hand side of the boat, and if I turn the kayak side on, we're not really in a space where all the water's going with us right now. At the moment, all the water's coming into our left side of the boat, pushing me tight up against that rock face. And in reality, rock faces are not this shape, are they? And in the Waimakere River, they have bits that stick out, which create all sorts of random boils and whirlpools and buffer waves that push back off the rock face. And being up in this position means that you're going to have to deal with all of that junk and call on skills that you may not possess yet. So I would want to avoid this zone and make sure that I'm only up against the rock face for a very short period of time. Okay. So starting in lane 2 gets you on the inside band of the flow with enough space to pre-turn the boat. Very good. Once we're getting to the key moment where we're trying to thread the needle between boilie eddy and rock face, what do we need to be doing through this area? Paddling hard. We need to put power on here so that we've got what happening for us? Speed, which gives us more steering control. Yep. We need to ensure that we're moving faster through this water than the water itself, so for the rudder to work for us. And we need to be precise through here. This zone could be only a couple of boat widths wide. So having good steering allows us to hit the spot that we really want. Okay. Through here, are we leaning to the left or to the right? Which way are we tilting our body and boat?
Leaning to the right, rather left.
And at this moment here, if you lean right, there's a high chance of flipping. Because as we come through here, all the water that's been building up against the rock face is shooting through here at speed and will push on your right edge. There'll be buffer waves and boils pushing off the rock face. And so long as you have speed, you're going to need that right edge up to carve off those. Yep. Okay, so we're leaning left with the right side of the boat lifted, correct? Yep, correct. Lean the way the corner's going. If we've got quite a big buffer coming off here and you get a big bump off the water that pushes off the rock face, what can you do that you just learned this morning to add stability? Do it on the other side. Yeah. You can do the gliding low brace on your left with your right side up. Okay? That's if we're needing to come through quite a turbulent zone. You could do that for 2 to 3 seconds and then carry on paddling. Ideally, we finish this maneuver on river right. Okay? Not hard up against the inside of the bend. Okay? So you guys can imagine doing that. Position the boat, lane 2, pre-turn it slightly, keep the nose out of that eddy, give it speed, lean left, and then you can do a gliding brace on the inside if you need additional stability to edge through something big. Okay? Happy with that? Simple way. Let's come downstream, walk with me, team. We'll leave the boat there, assuming we nailed that first bend really well. Now we've got another bluff corner, this time going to the right, but now the situation is different. What's different about this bluff corner versus the previous one?
That knob sticking out there.
The knob, exactly. So the first corner was a very beautiful straight rock face, like that. So the water just runs through there, but now we've got a big bit that juts out. Yep. And let's imagine that this rock face, we've got other problems with it, like it might be slightly undercut. Yep. Or, you know, it's angled in such a way that it would be hazardous to be up against that. Yep. So now the water flows into this hazard. Is going through here a good idea for a novice or intermediate paddler? Probably not. Is it possible? Sure. But it is not going to be a very safe line, and it probably wouldn't be all that much faster than the alternative. So what's the alternative? Through the eddy on this one. Very good. So we're wanting a line that cuts through the eddy and finishes here on the low side of that knob. Okay. So to achieve the line that cuts through the boilie eddy and out the other side, this is now actually more complicated, eh? We're still going to have the potential issue of spinning out, because we're going to have to put the nose in the eddy, and at some point the tail's still in the float and it's going to start turning. So as we move through here, let's think about where we approach it from for a start. What lane are we in?
Lane 4. You come out of there. Lane 4, 5.
Yep. 4 or 5?
Well, it looks like it's probably going to be in lane 5 when you're coming out of the corner.
Yep. That's not a coincidence. Lane 5 is correct. If I want to have a safe line through here, lane 5 is great because it allows me to have a really good angle on this eddy. I can come into the eddy with the nose of the boat pointing out to the outside of the corner. If I'm coming in too wide, then I have to realize, oh no, I need to get into that eddy. We have to turn the boat too much, and now we end up coming into the eddy on what I would call a 90-degree angle to the boils. So coming in this way means we're going to experience more spin because we've exposed more of the side of the boat to the boils and left the side of the boat to be turned by the flow. So coming in that way is no good. We want a nice angle on that eddy of about 45 degrees. Being in lane 5 helps us achieve that easily. Okay. So that's the angle we want to hold throughout the whole corner. But you will experience the boilie eddy pushing you which way, right or left? Good, it's going to want to push the nose right. But we don't actually want that, because if we turn sharply to the right, we're going to, lose all our speed. If we do a 90-degree turn in a racing kayak, we've stopped. We need to start again. And then at this position, we tend to get pushed all the way, kind of out of control, shoved up against the inside bank here. Yep. And then we're having to claw our way downstream through slow water. So ideally, we want to hold the boat straight through here. And how are we going to do that? Speed to start with would be helpful, because this water is not moving with us. We have to push against it. Rudder, in which direction are we applying the rudder? Left rudder for a right hand bend. That could be easily understood now, but quite difficult to comprehend in the moment. When you can see the hazard on your left and a clear exit to your right, it's very hard not to put the right foot on the pedal here. But when we see people doing that, turning the boat right, you will turn it right, the river will turn you right, and before you know it, you've done a 180. Yeah. So through here, we need some amount of counter steer. We need some left pressure on the rudder to stop the boat from turning in the boils and keep it tracking straight. Back out here to the fast flow where we can carry on in full command of our vessel. Yes. Yep. 1 o'clock, sure. Yep. In our whitewater kayaks, they spin even more dramatically, so we needed a slightly more aggressive angle this way. Because we're in our long kayaks with the benefit of the rudder, but we find about 45 degrees easier and easier to comprehend in the moment. But it's a great, good job noticing that nuance. Yeah. That was the next thing. Yep, we are. Which way do we want to lean the boat as we're going through the boils here? It's hard not to hint with my hand. Left edge.
No, rudder left.
Yes. So ruddering left, we want to tilt the boat this way, lifting the outside edge, leaning right. Thank goodness it's the same way, whether you're going around the outside of the bend or whether you're cutting through the eddy, we're leaning in the direction of the turn. On both cases, we're leaning that way. It's just the, tracking of it through the eddy or around the outside. In this case, through the eddy, you need the edge and the left foot on the rudder. And on the lake this morning, when you lift the left edge and use your left rudder, what could we call that? A bilge turn. Yeah, we are counter steering against the force of the flow that's trying to turn us. By lifting the edge, you not only keep yourself upright, which is our first job, but you also make it easier to keep the boat straight because you'll be bilge steering against the flow of the boilie eddy. Through this zone, we do not want you to use the gliding low brace. Why not? Why can't you use the gliding low brace here? You can't keep your speed up. Yeah, because there's no flow helping you continue on your way. You have to keep pulling the boat through these boils until you are on the other side of them. Yeah. Keep in mind our target, that where we're trying to head to, is here. Our finish point is there. Yeah. So we keep the boat straight, paddle on, keeping safe away from this rock face and keeping efficiency by keeping the boat as straight as possible through the boils. Cool. Any questions?